Module 5, Unit 2, Using Best Practices. In this unit, best practices, it's about, this is a best practice about security, securing a device and computer systems. So what are the basic concepts or basic practices na we will tackle in this unit? So starting with describing the basic principles of hardening a computer or hardening a computer system against attack. Yan ang i-cover natin. Next is to distinguish different types of malware and learn how to use the anti-malware software. We will learn ano ba itong anti-malware and what is a malware. We covered this from the previous unit. Then we will identify a spam. What is a spam? And then phishing threats. And then we will also cover installing software patches and updates from secure sources. So these are the topic when it comes to best practices in securing a device. So securing devices poses many challenges, no? Even lalo na in our age, in present age, information age now, where there is internet of things, where we cover this from previous unit. Now when we say internet of things, all devices na connected, na merong connection sa internet, those are the devices na merong IoT devices na accessible through network. So when securing a device, basically, it starts with the hardware, and we have this what we call device hardening. When we say device hardening, guys, it's not literal. No, electronic device already hard. No, so that's a joke, corny, but anyway, device hardening is about securing the device. Yung things like you need to disable the ports na hindi kailangan, you need to disable the, some configurations lalo sa BIOS na hindi ginagamit, and leave only those that are needed. Merong hardening din sa from computer systems, like for example yung accessing the BIOS, di ba? It's a very critical access point na pwedeng ma-exploit pag nakapapasok ang BIOS, di ba? You can just disable any hardware, for example, sa BIOS. So, meron ding device hardening, not only computer system, but also mga switches, mga routers, mga network devices, by disabling the ports na hindi ginagamit, and then disabling the services that is not needed sa switches, and for example, other features na hindi ginagamit, and enabling only those that are needed basically sa hardware. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng hardening. And then securing a device is one of the best practices is to have an antivirus or anti-malware. This is a program, no? This is an app that runs on your station to protect your PC from antivirus attacks, from anti-malware preventing your file systems, your system files, and the entire PC itself from being infected, and then until na maging rogue ang computer niya, magi-start na maging behaving abnormally, or or worse is inoperational. So you need to have antivirus installed or anti-malware. Sometimes magkasama yan. So without that, walang protection ng walang software na that will run automatically and scan periodically yung computer mo for any changes, for any unusual files or suspicious files, lalo na pag ginagamit nyo sa internet. Lalo na download tayo ng download sa internet, or even not downloading. Kasi even when you're browsing, di ba, may mga cookies, internet cookies being download, mga temporary internet files. So even this antivirus and anti-malware is also protecting the applications and mga browsers while online. May mga features yan na hindi lang yung software itself, hindi lang yung station mismo pinoprotektahan, but also your activity on the internet. So that's why it's recommended na we always have an antivirus. And then one of the best practices that we need to know is patching, mga updates. When we say patching, these are releases, software releases from software vendors, starting from operating system. Regular yan, almost daily may mga release, software release patches, not entirely the entire operating system, but a component of an operating system. The same thing with applications that we use, may mga updates din yan. So whenever there's an update, schedule it and update your applications. Update your workstations. Kasi usually itong mga updates, itong mga patches, it's not only about fixes, sa mga bug fixes, no? But also security fix. Pag may mga na-identify silang threat o may mga flaw na overlook, o mga zero day discovery, mga ano ibig sabihin niya na hindi nila na-identify before, or all of a sudden immediately they will notify, they will send a notification na even the moment you open the software will notify na there's an available update. So even me, we take this for granted. So you can risk it. So it's not a good practice. So it's always a practice na always keep the most recent patches, lalo na pag galing sa mga software vendor or software developer. And then another best practice in security device is to use passwords. Don't leave your station with without the password na anybody could use. Kahit ba na public use yan, there's always a password. Because an online computer, you can do so many things. And then you don't know kung ano yung mga automatic login na naka enable sa inyong computer o sa mga browser. Minsan kasi meron mga, when you open a browser, we can open we browse our bank accounts and we save passwords, di ba? So that's it. Pag open yung computer mo, anybody can use. All they do is launch the software that you use and na may automatic logon. They could, explore, and there you go. So, kailangan may password palagi. The moment you power on your computer and the moment you log in, and then you lock, and whenever you are locking your desktop. And then ito pa, another one of the taken for granted na recommended sa best practices is do not use default passwords. Na 1 2 3 4 ABCD, kahit combination yung pen, that's common. Or yung mga admin password or admin password, those are common passwords, lalo na pag default. Ibig sabihin default that pag meron kayong install na software and then meron kayong binabrowse na website and then it's asking for a password, usually by default may recommended, and sometimes most of the time nowadays pag online may mga requirement na dapat yung password mo a combination of characters, alphanumeric with special characters. But on stations, lalo sa Windows, do not use common passwords, weak passwords, mga default passwords, and default accounts. Yun ang andito. You have to change it. Change it in a way na kailan nakakaalam and that you will never forget. Of course, no? Huwag kakalimutan ng password. And then disabling unused features is also a best practice na always recommended. Ano ba mga unused features? Not starting from the hardware, that's it. And meron ding software hardening, meron ding operating system hardening, meron ding mga network switches hardening, di ba? Yung mga features niyan. Yung mga hindi ginagamit sa Windows, you had to disable that. Lalo na yung may mga apps na services na that connects to the network or has something linked with the browser na hindi naman ginagamit, mga add-ins, mga plugins na nag-automatic install unawarely, and then yung mga default na you don't use, makikita nyo, you have to disable those. Any features from Windows, starting from Windows to services, all of those, mga features na yung services, yan, sa mga Windows services, you need to disable those. Yung mga ports, yung mga layer 4 ports, mga application ports, mga hindi kailangan, from switches to firewall, dinidisable yan. And then, you have to remove unwanted or unnecessary software. Maybe may mga software na na-install nyo dyan, na-try nyo, hindi nyo na ginagamit, remove that. And usually, mga unwanted, unnecessary software, ito yung mga obsolete na we just, leave it there. Parang we don't care. Minsan kasi nakakalimutan din na uninstall, lalo na, even me, when I'm, for example, editing a video, I download softwares, mga trial, and sometimes, nakakalimutan ko i-disable. So, those are the things na one of the best practices is to remove those unnecessary software, especially unwanted ones. No? Na bigla na lang merong software na ganito na we don't use it before. Diba? Or it wasn't there before. Now, when we say computer viruses, no, we need to be aware ano yung mga best practices, how to handle antivirus, di ba? So, of course, number one, dapat may antivirus. Itong example natin, AVG, it is free, really. So, kailangan lang dito is to register, but it's very useful, it's very effective. I've used it many times, and buti na lang may mga ganito na may free, kahit ba na may ads yan. But I'm telling you, this is legit. AVG. All you have to do is download it directly from AVG itself. No? Hindi yung minsan kasi may mga nag-ads na free AVG pero hindi talaga sila AVG. So you need to be aware with that. So once legit ang AVG nakuha nyo, it's good to have a antivirus installed and it's free. Now, when you are using an antivirus, may mga tinatawag na infection vector. These are parameters. These are settings. How to handle viruses na madidetect. And viruses kasi, may mga parameters, and they call it infection vector, like viruses, a program virus, like lalo na yung mga free software na dinownload or from a torrent or being shared to you na from a friend na hindi rin aware na infected pala yung sinishare. So, may mga program viruses, and then meron din mga macro viruses. Yung macro viruses, these are usually common to sa mga MS offices eh. Nag-open kasi ng mga macro link yan eh. Mga link between offices, between Excel, Word, or Access. Within any office, may mga macro link kasi yan. So, whenever link, that's one way na ni-exploit because that's the best way to spread a virus, di ba? So, yung mga program virus kasi whenever it's behaving unusual o may mga bigla na lang na nagsha-shutdown o naghahang ang computer na especially when you install a new program, yun ang mga infected yan usually. Nadidetect na antivirus. And then meron mga worms. Itong worms are actually, this is an acronym. Dapat capital lahat yan, eh, no? So, worm stands for write once, read many. So, ito, fina-flood ng ang fina-flood ang network, kinokongest ang yung network or dinideny ang service ng iyong computer. Kasi write once, isang beses lang magra-write and then read many, open ang open yan, open ang open. So, yun ang mga mga worms, no? From the word itself, no? Ang galing ng naming convention nito, no? Na talagang it sounds virus na yan, no? Worm is not the worm that we know, di ba? So, yan ang mga parameters that you need to be aware when using an antivirus. And then meron ding tinatawag na payload. These are viruses na actually, a type of virus na almost similar to program viruses. Payload is interacting with other, software components within your computer. So, it's another type of virus na madidetect. It's telling you it's a payload virus, something like that you need to be aware. And then may mga viruses na that you can receive or can spread through delivery. One way of delivery is email attachments. Pag may mga sometimes an email being sent to you from a common address or sometimes an email na from a hack account and then all of a sudden pinadalang kayo ng very special email na oh thank you. I think if you have heard about the I love you virus, it is an example of a virus through email delivery. And i-google nyo yung I love you virus, and it originates from the Philippines. Gawa daw ng isang student from AMA, and thesis niya daw yung virus, and he didn't know that the impact ng ginawa niya, and it spreads globally. Lahat, even the government, even the US Department of Defense. You Google that, yung I love you virus. Um, and Pinoy made. Yun ang ibig sabihin. So may mga delivery din na yung auto-run media. Ano ba yung auto-run media? Like for example, yung mga CD na may mga installer, okay, mga installer na that comes with the printer or with other devices. Even the USB itself, lalo ng USB na ginagamit nyo sa mga internetan, no, 'di ba, sa mga computer cafe. So if that is not being scanned, or may mga unknown na very strong pag wala kay antivirus, the moment you plug in, nag-auto run yan, and there you go. Wala, mag-infiltrate na yan. Kaya hindi disable ang auto-run features. Hindi na maganda ngayon yan. Before, it's okay. Kasi lumabas yung auto-run na yan sa disk drive, sa mga optical drives, starting from CD drives. So, you had to disable yung auto-run media by going to control panel, and then just right-click, huwag nyo lang yan, checking option na auto-run. And then yung mga free software, yung mga application exploits na lalo na pag unknown source or a suspicious source, to detect to detect a suspicious source or URL, you have to check the URL. Kung may HTTPS o kaya yung complete name is actually may mga characters na dot o dash na shouldn't be. So, to compare that is to go to another website, check nyo, ito ba talagang website address, ito ba talagang URL. So, if not, yung mga exploited application, pag dinownload nyo, it comes with viruses, all kind of viruses. You don't know, makikita nyo lang, nag-lock na yung screen nyo, o kaya meron ng mga files na encrypted, yung mga ransomware. Those are the things. Once you notice a very unusual is you have to suspect na yan na may infected, you have been merong suspected virus. That's why it's good to have antivirus installed or anti-malware software installed. Speaking about malware, may mga rin yan, may mga free din yan. Yeah, like for example, kasi ang malware, like for example, ito, in-encrypt this is a ransomware. Automatic, magpa-pop up yan, and then it will ask you na send this money. No? Ito, may Bitcoin pa, no? Wow, but I have seen a ransomware, guys. It's true, no? Pag tinignan mo yung drive SIM mo, tinignan mo yung mga folders mo, it's encrypted. May mga characters na, o kaya nakalock. And then yung screen na something like this, will tell you na your file's been encrypted, you've been locked, send money, transfer money to this account or to this may mga link, through PayPal, ganyan. Yeah, ransomware. I've seen that many times, lalo na sa company working, ang tigas ng ulog, they are using an obsolete and outdated firewall, and they don't listen to me. So, I ended up spending 2 days restoring the entire system. So, ano ba yung mga malware na yung mga common in Trojan malware? As mentioned from previous slides or previous units, in Trojan is like a Trojan horse. It comes from the concept Trojan horse, yung sa Helen of Troy o kaya yung Troy na movie, you can see from there na kasi yung Troy, unpenetrable, yung wall nila unpenetrable by mga invading Spartans. So what they did is they disguised a statue, a horse statue. Yung pala nakatago sila sa loob, and then kala ng mga Trojans, they defeated the Spartans and they accepted the gift. So that's where and then pinapasok nila they're celebrating, dinala nila yung Trojan horse inside their property. So yun. And then after the celebration, everyone is asleep. Lumabas lahat sa loob ng Trojan horse. That's as a statue. And then they started killing everyone. And then yun ang nangyari ng fall of Troy. So nakapagkwento pa ako sa inyo, no? So that's where Trojan started, I mean originated. So may mga file na in disguise na tanggap nyo, and then it will run automatically when you click on it or in a certain period of time. So it could be an application, it could be an attachment, or anything na in disguise, no, and then we accept it, no, and we downloaded it. And then meron din spyware. This as from the name itself, no, this is software that actually monitors and monitors your computer activity. It captures your yung mga entry codes, yung mga password, no, bank accounts, no. So pin numbers, yan ang mga ginagawa niyan. So we don't want that to be installed in our computer. And again, your ransomware, as I've explained earlier, no, these are viruses na nilalaking computer mo or your files. Then you have to pay para ma-encrypt. So you don't pay, you don't do that. Ang gagawin mo dyan is clean the PC and then restore everything from scratch. Ganon. So may mga din, operating system vulnerabilities. May mga threats din yan sa mga operating system. Of course, everything that is a program, those are threats for, may mga threats yan, vulnerabilities sa virus. So, mga malware na infecting the computer and then tricking the users, prompting you this, no, giving you a misdirection, you lost this, username and passcode and everything. Na, actually, ginawa ko na to, bakit meron na namang ganon? So, may mga nangyaring ganyan if you don't have an antivirus or an anti-malware. And then, the same thing with malware na ang ina-attack dyan, yung operating system, not to work properly, you lost connection, or kaya yung mga files mo is missing, and then yung account mo all of a sudden is cannot access some folders and shortcuts. Yun ang, that's what is exploiting the software. It makes your operating system not to work accordingly, not to function as it used to be. So, yung exploitation yun is it could crash for worse, no? Yung computer mo shutdown ng shutdown, maraming blue screen. May mga talagang ganun ka-evasive ang mga viruses, or a process, a service na it won't run anymore. Hindi mo na ma-run. Nakastuck na lang doon where it used to be, no? And then mga patch management, mga unreliable source. For example, kaya mas maganda maganda na yung nangyayari ngayon na yung mga Windows, Microsoft na mismo magpapadala sa iyo ng updates, okay, mga application, all of a sudden when you open the application, magre-remind siya na merong update. So yun, mainak kinaganda may automatic notifications na kaya we need to apply that patches pag may mga bagong release. So, how to prevent malware infections, di ba? Yung mga risk kasi niya ng malware infections, yung mga unsafe websites. Lalo na pag you're not using HTTP, you should be using HTTPS. No? Pag mayroong mga website na HTTP, that's unsafe, unsecure. Nakikita lahat ng mo doon, transaction in plain text. So if it is a website na HTTP lang and then it prompts you to log in, so it's actually a trap. May mga nakikinig dyan, may mga marites sa internet, and then yung mga unsolicited email na you didn't ask for, lalo na mga adware, di ba? You will receive that. So, kailangan yung email mo na ma-manage din, no? May management din dyan, may mga options na kailangan i-enable and disable. And then yung mga infected hosts, ito yung computer itself na pag walang malware o anti-malware, it actually cause your network not to function. You lose connection, you lose the service. And then you may mga uncontrolled execution, as I described earlier, na when you run an application, hindi na ganun ang operation niya. And then meron tinatawag na zero-day exploits. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na yung mga mga unaware sa mga risks and all of a sudden na-discover on that day, yun ang zero-day exploits. Kasi hindi lahat ng software are perfect. You remember that. May mga flaws yan. Yun ang, yung mga flaws, yun ang they're trying to solve. But programs, applications are run by codes. There's no such, meron talaga ano dyan, weaknesses palagi. Lalo na pag dinidecode na yung at the code level or those are the things. So they are trying, I mean, when once a software being developed the first day, as much as possible, na scrutinize niyan, na test niyan, but at the end of the day, meron na naman nakitang bago, zero day tawag doon. So, preventing malware expansion is malware infection is to reduce the exposure. No, I think exposure meaning be aware of this risk, no? This risk. Yan ang to reduce the exposure, lalo yung mga unsafe websites, and then keep on receiving unsolicited email. Pag mayroon unsolicited, block that, no? Delete it, no? And then mag-backup palagi ng data. Always backup, I mean from a USB, external drive, or and through a server, you backup. Don't rely on one file only. Make it a habit. I learned this the hard way, no? When I was, younger before, and then I take it for granted to make backups. And bigla na lang, makukurap o kaya magi-infected. And then apply patches as often as you can. Apply all the updates as much as you can. You can schedule that. It doesn't have to be pag may prompt automatic at the middle of the work. No, you can schedule that. And then use a security software. Update the security tawag dito, security database that they are kailangan nag-update pa rin. Nag-update lalo ng antivirus. So it scans file, no? Pag may mga online, pag may antivirus ka, when you're saving a file, ini-scan yan. When you're copying a file from one media to another, ini-scan yan ng antivirus. And then yung admin accounts, no? Dapat sa admin lang talaga o kaya sa may-ari sa may authority na gumagamit ng computer. And usually, itong mga admin privileges, the IT people or IT admins, they know this. But on your personal, that's for your information. And then to tell you as well on personal use, yung mga admin accounts, no, isa lang, ikaw lang. And then yung ibang gumagamit, hindi dapat admin lahat, no? Otherwise, they could do other things, change your hardware, change the settings, so without your knowing. And then yung file execution, as much as possible, you only are using the application that you're using. You have to know na ano ba mga ibang tumatakbo dyan na you're not using actually, and then all of a sudden kaya you have to check the services. You need to be familiar with the services, and you don't have to do it regularly because you have the antivirus, but you need to be aware as well na ito lang ginagamit ko, ito lang dapat tumatakbo. Inyan. Now, using an antivirus software, some of you already are aware of this, lalo na pag meron kayong install na AVG. So, lahat naman yan is very intuitive. Lahat naman yan is mga with instructions. So, it's very user-friendly, in other words. No? So, it detects and blocks the malware na you will encounter that will be, accidentally downloaded or unsolicited na pinadala sa'yo. Antivirus will give you notifications. So, yung mga virus signatures, dapat updated dyan. Yung virus signatures, ito nang gagaling sa AVG yan. These are virus patterns, virus behavior, and mga virus programs na identified. And they call it signatures. Yan yung mga virus definitions. Na pag updated ang malware signatures sa AVG, so everything that comes new, kasi may virus every day, thousands ang nagagawa, thousands being released. That's why yung mga developer are persistent to monitor, na hindi masira yung kanilang product. And then itong antivirus, it should be able to identify yung mga malware like behavior. I would say yung mga unusual behavior. So malalaman na you are having a file na running in the background. Okay, merong unfamiliar file that is running, it will notify you. magno-notify to ng antivirus sa'yo. So, yung mga personal software, enterprise suites, may ganyang version. Yung personal software, it's free. And yung mga enterprise, mga advanced some features niya na you don't need actually. These are for companies with networks, with multiple servers, with complicated applications. Yun yung mga enterprise. You don't need that. You need to choose the personal version only. And then aside from AVG, maraming mga vendors that you can actually, for example, download for trial period. At least you're safe for 30 days, for example. In Symantec, in Norton, matagal na yan. I've been using that for, you know, you don't want to know how long, but decades, no? And then McAfee, yan, Avast, those are, that you need to be aware na pag sinabing McAfee, Avast, you need to check their websites para alam mo rin na ano yung website talaga nila. Trend Micro, Sophos, I haven't heard that, but Kaspersky, yes. And then meron pa mga Bitfender and ESET. So, check this, Google that, and you will know kung, yung who knows kung ano yung mga libre at trial period. And sometimes it's better to have two viruses, no? Two antivirus, but you need to check yung performance ng computer mo. Minsan kasi may masyadong persistent yung antivirus. Run and run, scan and scan, lalo na yung mga bagong labas. You need to check that. Nakakabagal yun. Now, ang paggamit ng antivirus, dapat may scheduled scanning and on access. Actually, when you install that, it will ask you na anong mga files. Actually, alam na ng software kung anong i-scan. As long as you are installing it as an admin account. And then may mga options dyan na you need to be sure na ini-scan ng file bago i-open. And sometimes it's better to may option din na to scan yung mga download, and then iba dito dinidisable kasi nakabagal daw, but you need to trust the default. May mga advanced features that you need to check kung kailangan mo ng ganong option, because depende sa usage mo. Kung you don't go to the internet much of the time, no, so that's fine. You don't transfer files from a foreign media, that's fine. So yung mga features na you need to enable and disable then. And then, ini-scan ng not only the files but also the memory. Yun ang may mga product na ganyan. And then, may mga exceptions then na you don't have to scan. Pag aware ka sa file na hindi naman infected, ito yung tinutukoy dito. Kasi pag ini-scan palagi yung buong drive mo all the time, kahit hindi ka nagda-download, so it uses your computer resources. Kaya minsan sabi antivirus, nakakabagal lang yan. You need to configure it. You need to check na kailangan ko bang i-check to palagi itong location na to, itong file na yan. You don't have to. So you need to check the files na kung saan ka nagsisave, kung saan ka nagda-download. Yun mga ganun bang example. And then you schedule the scan. You don't, most recommended time ng scanning is during nighttime or during idle time. But usually during night time. O minsan during boot time, during downtime, no? Pag nag-reboot o pag nag-down, mag-scan muna. May mga ganong option. You need to schedule, depende sa sa hours na where you're busy or not. But most of the time, mas magandang schedule yan, hindi yung busy ka. Para walang ibang resources o consumption na tumatakbo sa computer mo. Now, meron ding option na tinatawag na quarantining and remediating. When we say quarantine, parang it's the same concept. Lalo na yung pandemic, may quarantine, ina-isolate yung mga detected and suspected files. And you will see, may mga tinatawag na virus vault, itong scanning option, and dito sabihin sa'yo, ito yung na-detect na unusual file, and yung mga threats, and then na-scan yan, and then you have the option whether sa atin, sa mga common user, delete mo na yan. Don't entertain. And then once na scan, you need to have the option na i-empty mo yung vault. Don't keep the scan or quarantine file na sa computer mo. Remove that. Pero sa mga advanced users, may options for analysis. Sa mga gumagawa ng mga antivirus, sa mga IT people, we use this, no? So, may mga support na to remove automatically or to clean or disinfect file. So, Kung may backup ka, don't try to clean, delete na kagad yan. If you don't have one, you have to deal with this. So you need to be aware and pay attention after cleaning pa rin, no? Kasi meron namang mga malware, and this is true, na hindi maalis ng na antivirus. Na-scan pero makukulit, nandun pa rin. So may mga ganon. And even ang patches mo or virus signatures are updated, meron nandyan palagi. And sometimes may mga false negative or false positive. False positive in the sense na suspected yung file na ginamit mo. Actually, it's a program na you created, no? Kasi hindi kilala ng yun, ng AVG. So, hindi kilala ng AVG, wala signature na kasi it's a homegrown program na you create. Lalo pa nagde-develop ka ng program, nagde-develop ka ng app, pwedeng i-false positive yan. Now, there's another built-in free Windows antivirus, yung Windows Defender. So, ito loko itong Microsoft. They release it for free. So, Windows 7, no? And then Windows 10, and then all of a sudden, mga Windows 11, hindi nakasama, and then binalik ulit nila. So, Windows 11, binalik ulit nila. So, this is a free antivirus. This is built-in, and by default, it is all enabled. So this is where you verify the configuration. This is where you check yung mga scanning updates, mga logs. Pag ito yung mga di ba, yung they would say kailan huling tumakbo, kung kailan huli nag-update ng virus definition, and then yung kailan yung last na na-detect na it is scanned. So malalaman mo yung yung activity ng defender mo. And this is good. And somehow you need to have one this and you need another one like yung AVG or McAfee. As long as it is free, that's fine with me. Or really, if you're serious about your files to protect it, you can subscribe. Meron ganon. Kasi ang limit, etong reality that you need to know. Yung mga free at saka yung mga subscribe, may mga features na hindi available sa free. Basic scanning lang. So, they would say na may mga features ka na hindi nagagawa. So, to do that, you need to subscribe, to buy a license. Yun ang ibig sabihin. So, pay attention to those and determine kung kailangan mo yung additional features or advanced features. So, yung spam. What do we know about spam, guys? Aside from the food, yung dilata, no? Ito yung mga unsolicited mail. Ito yung email, na pinapadala sa'yo na lalo na yung mga persistent, unsolicited email na why this senders always sending me this email. Mga hindi mo kailangan mga from unknown sources, no? Usually mga unsolicited email niya may mga attached files na infected or may mga links na minsan yung picture disguised na image, accidentally na-click o kaya yung mouse may mga auto-click o mag-open ng link yan o mag-execute ng file yon. So that's dangerous. So hindi rin advisable yung minsan kasi may mga mouse settings na you don't have to click. Once you hover on top of it, mag-click agad. And meron talaga mga link na that's very good na bigla na lang mag-open, no? So minsan accidentally nakiklik na lang. So yan ang mga spam. And another virus that you need to be aware is what they call, or what's commonly known as phishing. No, this is not actually fishing, no, nangingisda, but phishing, but the concept is something like that. But actually, technical definition of phishing is nagdi-disguise. A disguised user or disguised website asking for your credentials. No, and then or in email, that will tell you na emergency or subscription is ready or you receive a cash prize. Ay, lalo na yan, di ba? Those are phishing there. And then just enter your username and password. There you go. Na-hook up ka na. Nadali ang credentials mo. So, ang phishing sometimes may mga targeted attack. Minsan intended talaga sa mga specific victim. Di ba meron tinatawag na whaling, I mentioned from previous units, yung mga specified key people, mga important people lang pinapadala ng phishing as victim, targeted victim. Or talagang minsan naman yung mass emails, just like what I said, yung I love you virus. And then may mga bigla na lang may lalabas na ano sa web pages, no? When you are browsing in the internet, all of a sudden may nagpop up, no? You win. You won a lottery. Yan. And then emergency, and then oh, don't panic first of all. Second, you need to be cautious then. So, hindi ibig sabihin meron ka ng antivirus, you're safe already, no? It'll be, wala nang pakialam, no? So, you need to be aware of those. You have to remember that. And then farming, sometimes is yung redirecting your traffic. Ibig sabihin, yung parang fake website, but this time it's a fake DNS. DNS is domain name service. It is matching your IP address with MAC address. So may nagpapanggap na server, and then kinukuha lang yung yung session or yung account, no? Account or access details, and it is now called as farming. Yung farming naman yon. Now, uh, merong control din na anti-spam. Yung mga, para ma-regulate mo yung mga unsolicited emails, you go to your junk mail options or junk email options, I mean. So, sa Outlook, meron junk email options. Go to your homepage, makita doon yung junk mail. You click that and makita mo makita mo yung option na to click this, and this window will come out. So, on junk mail, you have the options what to do, no, when you are receiving. But actually, by default, you need to check kung ano yung anong level of protection in dealing a junk email. So, dito sa options, makikita mo, no automatic filtering. Pupunta lang sa normal inbox mo instead of sending to your junk email. And then you can also set a level of protection from low to high to okay, you create a list kung sino, or and then permanently delete yung mga suspected kagad. Pwede, you have those options, and you have those senders options like safe sender kung kilala mo yung mga sender, or mga and then safe recipient, the same thing, yung mga email address to pag kilala mo yung mga senders and recipients napapadala mo, and then you block there's an option na you have to block when you're receiving persistently an unsolicited email, you block that. And then international settings email, it's pretty straightforward. It's you don't have a high knowledge of IT or computer system, but like these options ito makita mo, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, just read about it, pay attention to it, and then it doesn't need a high skill for that. So, nangyayari anti-spam, no, on instant messaging din. Or yung voice over IP is another form of telephone system na ginagamit is network. So, internet lahat yan, network lahat yan. So, may anti-spam din sa when it comes to instant messaging and VoIP. Yung mga tinatawag na authentication and identity proofing. Kailangan, you need to confirm yung mga sender, and then yung identity nila, kailangan somehow there's a way to prove, that the one you're talking with is with the correct identity, is the right person, or the right sender. Now, eto, another thing that we need to consider yung mga sources ng software, no? Like for example, yung mga driver installation, or kakuha tayo ng sample Windows o kaya Linux when you are exploring, kailangan legit ang website. You need to know kung sino yung yung mga legitimate ang app stores, yung mga vendor, alam mo dapat na Microsoft talaga nagbebenta niyan, o sa Microsoft mismo download, no? And then yung mga Linux distribution, Android, may mga nagpapanggap kasi na sources, mga fake websites also. And sometimes magaling mag-disguise. It's sometimes very legit. Ako na minsan na victim na ako diyan, yung mga spam, kasi minsan careless ako, I was busy with something else, and all of a sudden may nag-email HR daw, yung pala hindi naman HR, na nadali ako doon. So, okay, yung mga abandonware, yung mga wala nang hindi na nagde-develop ng updates, wala nang mga bagong release, and then it's an outdated software. So, you get rid of that. So, minsan, wala nang sources yan. And then, minsan nagsasabi, Bawa, na-corrupt yung software na ginagamit mo and then wala nang release and you still need that software lalo for it is for video editing or like for playing music and then wala nang ibang sources and then pag ginugol mo sabi nila meron kami niyan, you can download this. Don't do that. You need to pay attention. Wag lang click ng click now and then if it is an abandoned one, let go. No? You have to let go. And then yung mga software, may mga signed code, may mga digital certificates, no? May mga validated software. So these are the things that you need to be aware when it comes to identifying software sources. Now, when it comes to patch management, sinabi natin ito yung mga updates na pinapadala no from operating system to applications no and drivers. Ito yung pinapadala regularly. So make it sure that you have the most recent patches. So usually, kasi minsan dinidisable yung automatic updates by Windows kasi uh, for other purposes but dapat is highly minsan kasi yung updates is walang oras by default, you need to check no kung ibang time zone yan or somehow hindi naka-enable, you need to check na yung updates mo, it happens in the evening, you have to manage that no but what's important, updated palagi yung software from starting from operating system. Kasi ang patch management, lalo sa applications, mga fixed release yan. Mga inaayos yung mga bugs being identified. Bugs kasi, pag sinabing software flaw, bug tawag doon. It is a programming error. Ang minsan naman, na nagiging threat, may mga nagiging security problem yung mga original release o mga previous release ng software. Kaya may mga patches. Kaya may mga service packs na nanggagaling sa Microsoft, for example, sa Linux, na they release this regularly, no? Until end of life, may mga updates yan. Kaya when you do the Windows update, di ba, ina-identify yung may mga as automatic updates ng Windows is also not only an update for Windows but also yung mga installed applications na they integrate with Windows Update management software. So it connects automatically sa websites to download. So these are that you need to be aware na it's actually downloading the right software, the legit software that you are using. So you can verify the settings. No, you can go to the option settings to schedule or to feature and update when it comes to capability improvements and like for example, yung mga it can be different when it comes to quality. These are the things that you can play with. You need to set with if you have to. And then may mga restart options during update. Meron kasing reboot ka kasi may mga update na kailangan na reboot. So, may mga restart options to remind you or to restart automatically. So, of course, no? Kailangan to remind you, no? And then schedule the restart. Para kasi may mga update that as I've said, na kailangan i-reboot ang computer para to take effect. No? And then, yung advanced options are this. Kung ano yung ibang option na, minsan, like this, papadala ka ng email. So, don't be surprised when you click and then you receive notifications from Microsoft. And then, as I've said, you have to schedule yung reboot, for example, and then you download. Sometimes you can schedule it in the evening. So combination and download and then yung installation and then yung restart options, those are the practices that you need to be aware. I-schedule, not during at the middle of work na meron ka unsaved o kaya you are talking to someone, meron sa kalagitnaan na interview mo o kaya na meeting. So those are the things na nag-update. Once in a while you need to check this because may mga updates na it changes, no? It changes your update settings mo. So, yung scheduling, ano ba mga recommended dyan? So, aside from daily, may daily updates, by boot up, o kaya at the end of the day, you reboot and then update, yung mga ganon. And then, kasi may mga features na it needs to be, take effect. And nagte-take effect pag nire-reboot lang. So may mga service channels to allow more control for update Meron kasi ano eh, may minsan na may mga you need to test first on a single station bago i-deploy sa ibang station, lalo na sa business level when it comes to updating Windows. So may mga Windows inside your program, ito yung mga ano eh, mga patches from Microsoft itself and from the developer. And then yung mga semi-annual, either targeted or not, and then yung long term. Those are na we need to put more control, lalo na pag may mga third party kang software na hindi kilala ng Windows, na ang nakakaalam lang is yung taong nagpagawa o yung gumawa. And then may mga updates no na features like for example, yan, threat scan. And then for example, file scan, and then you can also, I mean, if you're just in the mood to click this, just click it. Quick scan lang naman, and then meron naman yung advanced scanning na talagang intensive and scanning. So that will take more time. Kung di ka naman nagmamadali, that's fine, no? Um, and then may mga application updates and then antivirus updates that you need to be aware. So may mga schedule din yan na usually as often as they want, ano, dapat nag-update yan. And sometimes may mga update settings na it doesn't allow these ones that you need to be aware. Even driver updates, yes, as I've said earlier, nabanggit ko rin yan, no? From application to operating system to antivirus and then drivers. So in this unit, it is recommended na you do some exploration, some activities in applying the best practices in when it comes to securing a device. So use a Windows Defender, explore niyo yung mga options, and then sa Windows Update, try to check the update settings, try to check the update activities. That way, you'll be familiar about what happened to your Windows system and Windows Defender, and then the updates being taken. And other activities like hardening and then antivirus, other antivirus that you have, you can do the same thing. So in this unit, we covered to explore and learn about the basic principles of hardening a computer and a computer system against any virus attack or malware attack. And then we distinguish different types of malware and how to use an anti-malware, diba? From scheduling, from updating, from scanning, and then in quarantine, for example. And then we identify what is a spam. And then including phishing, what are the threats when we say spam and phishing, so that you need to be aware and then control and mitigate. And then we also discuss why it is important. Now we had to have some updates, the install software updates and patches as often as it can be, and you need to be aware na yung sources is secure or legit. I hope this has been informative to you. See you on the next unit.